All right, we are talking about connective tissue. Connective tissue is so much more than just connecting tissue, stuff that connects the various parts in the body in a mechanical sense. Connective tissue is an integrated electrical computerized system that brings the body together the way an operating system brings various programs together in your hard drive, in your computer. The connective tissue matrix is computerized. It's an information processor. The connective tissue is made up of something called liquid crystals. As we said yesterday, liquid crystals are a cross between solid and liquid matter. It's sort of an intermediate phase, partially liquid, partially solid, and liquid crystals have some really interesting properties. Liquid crystals blink on and off when electrical current is generated through them. That's how you have liquid crystal displays in your computer or LCDs, in your television sets, or in your alarm clocks. The same liquid crystalline material, liquid crystalline nature that makes your alarm clocks light up or makes your computer screen light up is in your bones and in your connective tissue and in your blood vessels and throughout your body. And the same kind of properties are in the liquid crystals in your body, especially the properties vis-a-vis electrical current and electrical energy. Liquid crystals in the body store electrical energy. Liquid crystals in the body are responsible for the information storage capacity of your connective tissue. Over the course of time, this information storage capacity of connective tissue can account for some problems. It can account for things like back pain and joint pain. Over time, the connective tissue matrix becomes distorted, and this can be a result of trauma. It can be a result of poor posture. It can be a result of long-term chronic contractions that come from stress and emotional disturbances or mental disturbances. Nutritional deprivation can cause distortions in the connective tissue. Lack of oxygen can make matters worse. The depositing of poisons from the digestive system can make matters worse. Toxins that come in through the digestive system can deposit in connective tissue. All of this can conspire to make connective tissue distorted and cause connective tissue disruption in the connective tissue's ability to process energy. Liquid crystals in the connective tissue, the liquid crystal portion or the liquid crystal property of connective tissue allows it to remember things. Connective tissue has a memory. Liquid crystals in the connective tissue deform, and as they're deforming in response to traumas, in response to contractions, they remember. They stay deformed. And this remembering property or this permanent deformation of the connective tissue can cause all kinds of health issues, all kinds of body issues, chronic back pain, chronic joint pain. All of these can be the result of connective tissue trauma, connective tissue remembering past traumas. We actually walk around with a living memory. Our connective tissue, and via its liquid crystal nature, is literally a living organic memory. And so if we have pain in our lives, emotional pain, mental pain, physical pain, all of these can show up in the connective tissue, and the connective tissue will remember it, and we'll end up with chronic long-term pain that's associated with past traumas. There's all kinds of schools of body work and Rolfing and massage therapy that focus on breaking connective tissue scars that have formed in the past, breaking connective tissue scars that we don't even know we have. This is called somatic therapy. I know there's a lot of body workers out in the audience. I get letters from Rolfers and massage therapists and acupuncturists. All of these kinds of therapies, all of these kinds of treatments take advantage of the fact that you can manipulate connective tissue, you can re-break connective tissue that has formed scars and loosen it up. I love Rolfing personally. That's how Rolfing works. It breaks up old scarred connective tissue. I've had the Rolfing series is 10 Rolfing sessions, and I've had all 10 done. And I'm telling you, folks, if you have any kind of connective tissue trauma or joint pain or back pain kinds of issues, you really want to consider finding a good Rolfer. That's R-O-L-F-E-R. Rolfing can just be thought of as a deep connective tissue kind of massage where the Rolfer, the Rolfing therapist, actually goes into the connective tissue and presses really hard and breaks up the scarred, locked up connective tissue that has remembered past trauma. Fibroses can occur in connective tissue. Fibroses are fibers that form inappropriately in connective tissue. There's fibers that are laid out in a nice crystalline array in connective tissue, but when we have fibrosis, we have a distorted and kind of disorganized laying of fiber in the connective tissue, and this too can cause all kinds of pain. Uterine fibroids are a classic example of connective tissue fibers. Don't let any doctor, folks, ladies especially, doctors love removing organs. Fibrosis is not a reason to have your uterus or your female organs or any part of your body removed. Don't let anyone ever take any part of your body, save for cancer, unless you have cancer, and you know that's the one time that you can't really do anything about it nutritionally once it's kicked in, or at least it might take a long time to do something about it nutritionally. Then maybe you need to have an organ removed. But other than cancer, you need all of your organs. If any medical professional recommends removing a thyroid, removing a uterus, removing a gallbladder, this is a medical professional that you want to avoid. This is a medical professional that you want to not walk away from, run away from. Anyway, fibroids are an example of connective tissue disorder. It's a sign of a body in distress. Fibrosis is a sign of a body in distress. As all degenerative disease is a sign of a body in distress, fiber formation, the laying out of fibers in connective tissue, is a sign that the body is under some kind of major stress. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication. All right, so if you're dealing with fibroids or fibrosis, and many, many millions of Americans are, you're dealing with a overburdened sympathetic nervous system, stress nervous system, in much the same way as pretty much all degenerative disease is the manifestation of an overburdened stress system. Keep it simple, stupid, KISS, cut to the chase. If you want to cut to the chase of degenerative disease, or right to the core of the degenerative disease process, what you'll find lurking at the core, lurking behind the scenes, is going to be an overloaded stress system, an overloaded sympathetic nervous system. And like all degenerative disease, fibroids and fibrosis, same thing, overloaded stress system. Excess estrogen, stress hormone estrogen, excess serotonin, the stress hormone serotonin, excess stress hormone cortisol, all of these are associated with fiber formation, fibroids appearing, or fibers appearing where they shouldn't be appearing, or being overlaid inappropriately, are a classic sign of a body in distress. It's the body's response to stress hormones. It's a cry for biochemical help, not a cry for surgery. No reason to have an organ removed. I got a text yesterday from a gal who's going to have or has a friend who's going to have her uterus removed because she has fibroids in there. And you know, I've been hearing this kind of craziness for so long. I don't get as angry as I used to. I still get ticked off, though. How dare you, physicians? How dare you take out a woman's reproductive organs because she's got fibroids, or cysts for that matter, or anything else that's not cancer? How do you even live with yourself? If you're a surgeon or a doctor out there and you're cutting out female organs or any organs out of any body shy of cancer, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you live with yourself? And then we have responsibility as well as patients. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. If you have fibroids, you have cysts, you have any kind of degeneration, it's not a reason to remove an organ. It's a reason to figure out what the heck's going on in your body. Arthritis, again, connective tissue problems, aches and pains, stiffness, these are all indicators of connective tissue problems. So in addition to body work, deep tissue massage, Pilates is great, yoga is great. Any kind of stretching can help improve connective tissue health, and that means improve the information processing properties of connective tissue. Any kind of stretching is going to improve connective tissue health. It's going to improve connective tissue flexibility, connective tissue strength. And remember, connective tissue tightness means electrical breakdown. Connective tissue stiffness means electricity and information is not flowing through connective tissue effectively. It means less electrical flow. It means disrupted information. And ultimately, it means all degenerative disease, including, my friends, cancer. Yes, including cancer. Once connective tissue starts to break down, all degenerative disease is possible. 40% of the body is connective tissue. And that includes bone tissue and blood vessels. Blood itself is connective tissue. Bones are connective tissue. The connective tissue is densely packed with lymphatic vessels, which is itself a type of connective tissue. And so if you have connective tissue trauma or connective tissue defects, if you got nutritional deficiencies, you're not getting enough protein, you're not getting your amino acids, you got digestive problems, they're compromising the absorption of those amino acids, that means less lymphatic flow. That means even more nutrient and oxygen deprivation. That means even more accumulation of toxins, which makes connective tissue even less healthy, and this is where we get our downward vicious cycle. So what do? You make sure you're focusing on building connective tissue with nutrition. That means protein, 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 protein. And you can do it if you're a vegan, you can do it if you're a vegetarian, using vegetable proteins. Hemp seed protein especially is effective, but it's much more difficult if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, because animal protein contains the bulk of amino acids, the concentrated amino acids that build connective tissue. Glucogel caps, you guys, if you have any connective tissue problems, and that doesn't mean just for arthritis. Everybody knows glucogel caps are for arthritis, but they're also for connective tissue in the circulatory system, so they can help protect you from an aneurysm or from a stroke. The glucogel caps help build connective tissue in the skin so they can keep your wrinkles at bay. They can help build connective tissue in the bone so they can keep your bone stronger. This is just one supplement, you guys. Just the glucogel caps. Just vitamin C. In fact, you can't make connective tissue with vitamin C. Vitamin C's got a lot of very important properties. A lot of functions in the body depend on vitamin C, but nothing is more important than the building of connective tissue when it comes to the functions and roles that vitamin C plays in the body. Amino acids like cysteine, lysine, proline, glycine. We're going to talk about these here, not today, probably get to them in the next couple of days. Vitamin E can have a protective effect on connective tissue. Everybody should be using 400 IU of vitamin E a day. Nothing underlines or underscores the importance of nutritional supplementation more than vitamin E. That's because you can't get vitamin E from foods, at least not good high doses of it. You got to supplement with vitamin E. The B complex, essential fatty acids, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, all of these can have a wonderful, powerful effect on building connective tissue for all connective tissue health issues. And as far as the skin goes, please understand this, folks. Just because you see something on the surface of your body, a boil, a zit, a cyst, anything on the surface of your body, doesn't mean that you can correct it with a topical product. Many skin health issues are really connective tissue issues that are kind of poking through the skin where we can see it. And because no one's explained it to us, no one has explained the composition of the body, no one's explained the distinctions between connective tissue and muscle tissue and the coating, the surface material, we're led to believe by unscrupulous, manipulative, predator business people, mercenaries who could care less about the skin, bookkeepers and accountants who could care less about the skin, bean counters who could care less about your skin or my skin. We're led to believe that you rub this on the skin and the puffiness under your eyes goes away, or the boils or the zits disappear. There's a new Proactive commercial with a movie star. Every Proactive commercial has a movie star on it that tells you how your zits will disappear when you use Proactive. And we can be forgiven for not understanding or believing, but I'm telling you, folks, if you have a skin problem, you don't necessarily have a skin problem. It just may be showing up on the skin. And if you have a problem underneath in the connective tissue, which is where boils and cysts, I should say, begin, chances are you got yourself a connective tissue issue and you need to address it at that level, at the connective tissue level. This is where zinc plays such an important role for treating acne and boils and cysts. This is where lymphatic drainage is so important. This is where working on the liver becomes important as well. All right, there's so much more to talk about. We'll continue this when we come back from our break. I am Pharmacist Ben, 855-660-40. Let's see if there's... tomorrow we're going to talk to Robert Scheinfeld. I love this guy's work. Oh, my goodness. Busting loose from the money game, busting loose from the business game, and his latest book, The Ultimate Key to Happiness. Robert Scheinfeld will be with us for the hour tomorrow. His latest book, The Ultimate Key to Happiness, How to Be Happy All the Time, no matter what's going on around you. Robert Scheinfeld's come up with something with a really interesting way of linking holographic theory to psychological behaviors to just day-to-day life. Really interesting stuff. I have him on my Kindle as well as all of his books in my library, and I refer to them numerous times a month, probably 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 times a month. I go back to busting loose from the business game. Anyway, we'll be talking to Robert Scheinfeld tomorrow, and then next week we'll be talking to Jonathan Baylor, who has a really cool book called The Calorie Myth. And if you've been listening to this program, you know that we don't believe in calories in, calories out on the bright side, the way you hear from most dietitians and nutritionists. And Jonathan Baylor's got a lot of good research that corroborates the fact that the idea of calories in, calories out is kind of a myth. His book is called The Calorie Myth. We'll be talking to Jonathan Baylor next week. All right, we're going to get your calls here in just a second. I want to just finish up real quick here about this idea that if it's on the skin doesn't mean necessarily that it is a skin problem. If you have something on the skin, chances are pretty darn good that you're dealing with a problem underneath the skin and what's called the dermis, which is the connective tissue area of the skin, the lining of the skin, the lining underneath the skin that gives the skin its It's tensile strength, its stretchiness, and its elasticity. This is the area that breaks down as we get older. Pretty much all skin health issues are going to involve connective tissue on some level, and for the most part it's going to be the connective tissue where your skin health problem arises, even if it looks like it's the skin. Cellulite, as we said before, is a classic example of a connective tissue problem. You can't rub something on the surface, on the epithelia, on the surface part of the skin if you have cellulite and expect your cellulite to disappear. And I know there's all kinds of products out there, and you can go to a spa and have a wrap done, an algae wrap, and I used to make them myself. I went back in my mercenary days, algae wraps and caffeine wraps and various kinds of herbal wraps to get rid of cellulite. Cellulite's in the connective tissue. It's the fatty layer poking up through the connective tissue. That's what that orange peel look is. It's all the fat poking through the connective tissue. Wrinkles and fine lines, connective tissue. Crow's feet, connective tissue. Boils and cysts, connective tissue. Scars are also a connective tissue problem. I get so many letters a month from people who want to get rid of scars, and you see commercials on TV, and you see doctors selling products that get rid of scars. Now, latest thing is silicone to get rid of scars. Scars are in the connective tissue. You're not doing anything for a scar by rubbing something on the surface. In fact, a scar, we talked about the intelligence of connective tissue, the memory of connective tissue. A scar is a classic example of the memory of some kind of wound in the skin that has now made it into the connective tissue. The connective tissue has remembered the wound. A scar is connective tissue that is being overlaid or being produced in an inappropriate fashion, and it isn't going away unless you remove that chunk that has remembered the wound. You can't get rid of a scar once it's formed unless you have some kind of surgical procedure that removes it. The trick to addressing scarring is to prevent it. That means nutrition, topical nutrition, and internal nutrition. If you have any kind of wound, you're about to undergo any kind of surgical procedure, and you want to protect yourself from scarring, if you have a burn or a rash or an abrasion or any kind of opening or wounding on the surface of the skin, and you want to prevent scarring from taking place, you want to prevent it. Once it happens, it isn't going away. How do you prevent it? Use topical vitamin C. Most important thing. That's the most important thing you can use. As the wound is healing, topical vitamin C. You can use topical vitamin E, not quite as effective. You can use topical vitamin A in the form of retinoic acid or retinol. In fact, if you're about to have surgery and you know you might have a scar, get yourself on Retin A or retinoic acid 2 or 3 weeks before you're about to get cut, and put it on the area that's going to be cut. Same with vitamin C. Put it right on top of that area, and not only will you eliminate or minimize the likelihood of scarring, but you'll minimize the likelihood of dark spots as well, which can also occur after a wound. Now, I'm not saying there's no relationship here between the surface and the connective tissue. There certainly is. I'm just saying that you can't rub stuff on the top and expect it, whatever you're rubbing on the top, to somehow create a change underneath. But clearly, there is a connection, there is a relationship between the surface, so-called epithelia, and the connective tissue. Changes in the epithelia can create changes in the connective tissue, and vice versa. Changes in the connective tissue can create changes in the surface. But what I am saying here is that when it comes to connective tissue, and when it comes to the skin, the connective tissue is where you want to be focusing on when it comes to many of the aspects of skin health, including and especially wound healing and aging. And this is how alpha hydroxy acids work, but I'll save that for our next Bright Side episode. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening, folks. Our number is 855-660-4261. Time to take our first phone call of the day. Let's go off to Virginia and welcome Steve to the Bright Side. What is up, Steve? How you doing?
Hello, nice to speak with you again. Our youngest son, he's 17, and he's had to deal with eczema years ago, and he's just about done a huge improvement over the years, and then we found out about the gluten issue, and we're trying to work with that, and of course other supplements, and he's got the dry skin remains, and I was wondering if there might be some other...
Oh, yeah, there's tons of stuff. First, let me ask you a couple questions here. When you say you're trying to work with gluten, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is once we became aware of that it's not good by way of the longevity teaching and such, we're not taking that. We're trying to make sure that he doesn't take take in the gluten.
Okay, well, here's the deal on gluten, and I'll get to your question about eczema. Eczema is, and this isn't just for you, Steve, because there are a lot of people out there listening who are addressing or dealing with eczema, not addressing it, but dealing with it. Eczema is super, super easy to treat. That's the first thing. Nobody ever has to have it. You can reverse it within a day. Start to reverse it. You can completely eliminate it and never have it again within a week. That's number one. Nobody has to have eczema. The fact that the skin cells turn over so rapidly, every 4 to 8 weeks you have new skin cells, tells you that within 4 to 8 weeks you can have your eczema completely gone, never to rear its ugly head again. The second thing that's important about eczema is that it's a sign that something is not getting processed in the body. Now, if you have eczema, that's not all you have, because if something's not getting processed in the body, that means that in addition to it affecting the skin, it's probably affecting connective tissue, it's probably affecting the digestive system, it could be affecting any part of the body, including the blood and the immune system. So eczema is a red flag, and it's not necessarily something that you want to treat just by itself. Yeah, it's unpleasant and it's itchy and it may be cosmetically unappealing, but more importantly, it's an indicator that the body's breaking down. You're running higher risks for cancer, heart disease, all kinds of degenerative diseases, and you're running higher risks for an early demise. Those are really the important aspects of eczema, as unpleasant and as the superficial symptoms may be. The real problem is what's percolating underneath that you're not seeing. That's why eczema is, as easy as it is to address, it's super important that you want to deal with it as soon as possible, and it's very easy to do. Hang tight, Steve. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. If you're on hold, we'll get to you after our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back right after this. We're talking eczema with Steve in Virginia. A couple things, Steve. The skin turns over really, really rapidly. Skin cells do. That means eczema can reverse itself within 24 hours. You can completely eliminate it within 7 days, less than that, within 5 days, depending on how bad it is. Never to ever see eczema again if you do it correctly, if you address it correctly. Second thing about eczema to remember, in all skin diseases really, is that if you have it on the skin, you probably have it inside your body as well. Now, eczema is a surface cell issue largely, although there's probably a connective tissue component. So this is one of those cases where you want to address the surface of the skin, and there's lots of ways to do this, all right? So first of all, most important for eczema, focus on the digestive system, especially malabsorption of fats. Number one thing to do if you're dealing with eczema is focus on digestive health, especially when it comes to fat absorption, and that means essential fatty acids and fatty vitamins. Now, you want to make sure you're taking your essential fatty acids and fatty vitamins. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But before you even do that, you want to focus on the absorption of it. That means any digestive problems, Steve, need to be corrected. Probiotics, the biolumin nightly essence, a must-have. 5 grams a day, a teaspoon a day of glutamine powder, that may help you. The Z-Radical from Longevity, which contains sugars, polysaccharides that coat the digestive system, that can be very helpful. The Z-Radical is just a great multi-purpose, multifunctional nutritional supplement, but is especially effective for digestive health issues. Aloe vera, noni juice can also help. Bone soup can also help. These all have a coating effect on the digestive system. They can support absorption of nutrients, and they can help reverse or heal any kind of defects or disruptions in the surface of the digestive lining of the digestive tract. Certainly staying away from problem foods is also important. Any foods that initiate heartburn or cause bowel movement problems, loose stools or diarrhea, constipation as well, all of those need to be avoided. So you're going to avoid problem foods. You're going to get yourself on the biolumin nightly essence, 5 grams a day of glutamine, a nice coating product like the Z-Radical or perhaps noni or aloe juice, and then bone soup. All of these will have a nice soothing and healing effect on the digestive system. Of course, you're also going to be using the Mighty 90. That's just true for everything. You always want to make sure that you're getting the bare bones basics, and that's the Mighty 90. Then the second thing you want to do after you patch up the digestive system is you want to make sure you're getting fatty nutrients. That means essential fatty acids, the omega-3s especially are important. Use the Ultimate EFAs. I'd be doing 9 to 12 of those a day. Vitamin A is an absolute must-have, not just internally, but also topically for eczema. Internally, 20,000 international units a day. Topically, get yourself some retinoyl palmitate. That's spelled R-E-T-I-N-Y-L, retinol. Second word, palmitate, P-A-L-M-I-T-A-T-E. Get a cream or a serum that contains that and keep that on the skin. And then vitamin E, 400 international units a day, especially mixed vitamin E. And make sure you're getting some sun to get your vitamin D. If you want to supplement with vitamin D, it's not as good as the sunshine vitamin D, 5,000 international units a day if you're going to supplement with vitamin D. Although, as I say, it's nowhere near as effective as the kind of vitamin D that we get from the sun. And then make sure you're getting enough vitamin C for helping build skin tissue, building skin cells and protecting the skin. I'd be using 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C in addition to the 1,000 milligrams or so that you're going to get from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And then you can also use topical vitamin C. Make sure you're using it in its fatty form. Lipophilic is the technical way of saying that. Fatty vitamin C. Zinc oxide topically may help you. You can get zinc oxide at any drugstore. And then it's always a good idea to make sure that you're getting the entire B complex, but especially vitamin B3, which is niacin, and vitamin B5, which is pantothenic acid, both of which have a specific role to play when it comes to skin health. And if you're sipping on the BTT, your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, you'll get a full spectrum of the B complex, in addition to taking some extra niacin and some extra panto, vitamin B5. Well, probably a lot more you can do, but I'll tell you what, Steve, if you do what I just told you, or you have your son do what I just told you, his eczema will start to reverse right away within a week at the most, maybe a couple weeks, but probably 7 days max. Whatever patches he's got should begin to disappear, and if he does everything correctly, he never has to have eczema again. If that helps you, Steve.
Oh, it does. And I was going to say, he, for the most part now, he's gotten to where he has the dry skin. So it seems that
he's not absorbing his fats, or he's not getting them. So if his eczema is going, that means he's not dry skin, and that's not just true for Steve. It's true for everybody. Everybody out there listening. It's so ironic to me that we have so many millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans with dry skin. Probably close to 100 million or more Americans have dry skin. If I could see you guys out there listening on the radio, and I said how many people have dry skin, I guarantee you 90% of you would be raising your hands. Nobody should ever have dry skin, and the fact that it's so endemic, it's so common, is just a testimony to how unhealthy we are, how deficient we are in the basic nutrients, and how poorly we're absorbing said nutrients. Nobody should ever have dry skin. If you have dry skin, it has nothing to do with your moisturizer. In fact, the biggest canard, the sneakiest, most manipulative lie in all of skincare is that if you have dry skin, you need a moisturizer. As it turns out, your moisturizer will suppress your natural moisture factors and will make you need more moisturizer, which is why manufacturers of moisturizers tell you to use their products. Dry skin needs to be regarded as a deficiency in fats, either intake or malabsorption, and it falls right into line with eczema. So he may be on the right track if he doesn't have his eczema, but as long as he has that dry skin, Steve, he's looking at either fat malabsorption or not getting enough fats, of poor intake of fats and fatty vitamins. All right?
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks so much for calling. Appreciate it. Hope we helped you, Steve. All right, Hector, what's going on? Hector in Texas. Welcome to the bright side.
Hello. My mom has congestive heart failure, diabetes, and thyroid disease, and I was wondering...
Okay, she's got the big three. That's the big three. How old is she?
She is 57.
Okay, she's way too young for all that, so that's good news. That means that she has youth on her side. 57 is young, and that means she can start to reverse it. But she's going to have to change her life, Hector, because I can guarantee you she has been abusing her body for 57 years since she came out of the womb. Of course, she didn't do it herself when she came out of her womb. And it's not. I'm not saying that to be mean or to attack you, but I'm just saying it to be real, so we understand what we're dealing with here. So number one, first and foremost, she's got to focus on her blood sugar. Now, ideally, she should be focusing on the digestive system, but that's going to be a little trickier, so we're going to go with the blood sugar first. More protein, less pasta. More protein, less burritos. More protein, less cereal. More protein, less bread. More protein, less rice. More protein, less pizza. Less bagels. Less anything that spikes her blood sugar. More protein, less anything that spikes her blood sugar. That make sense, bro?
Yes.
Okay, that's the first thing. And it doesn't do us any good to say lay off the pasta, because our brain has wiring that won't let us do that. We're hardwired to crave pasta and bread and fruit juice and desserts. And there's manufacturers, predators, manipulators out there who will take advantage of this. So we got to withstand that, and you can't use willpower. You got to outsmart your brain. You got to hack into your brain, and you do that by getting more protein. Go get on the internet, get the One World Way, and have her start doing one scoop every maybe 3 or 4 hours of the One World Way. Have her get the ultimate EFAs from Longevity and throw in 3 ultimate EFAs with every scoop of One World Way. So she'll be doing 9 essential fatty acids with a scoop of with 3 scoops of One World Way every day. Ideally, if she has to do less, she can do less, but that's ideal. Next thing she wants to do is after all meals, get on the Sweeties from Longevity, and then sip on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine all day long. That'll get her on the Healthy Start Pack. That's a nice place for her to be. She may want to throw in some extra niacin, 100 to 200 milligrams of timed release niacin, 100 milligrams of CoQ10 a day. Make sure it's the oil-soluble CoQ10 a day. And if she's on the Healthy Start Pack, she'll be using the Osteo Mag. Actually, she'll be using the Osteo Cal. She needs to get some magnesium for the heart. I'd be using maybe 3,000 or so milligrams of magnesium a day. The best form of magnesium is magnesium glycinate. Have her go get some vitamin C powder and put a half a teaspoonful in water and sip that down 2 times a day, so she gets a full teaspoon every day, in addition to making sure that she's getting her vitamin C from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Wouldn't hurt her to get in on 400 international units of vitamin E a day either. Don't worry about the thyroid. You got to worry about the heart, and you got to worry about the blood sugar first and foremost. The thyroid there's more you got to do for the thyroid, and there's more you're going to need to do for the digestive system. And that's just a start, but we're out of time, Hector. If you give us a call back, not tomorrow, but on Thursday, I'll finish up. There's a lot of other things you could do. And you might want to have your mom get a book called The Sinatra Solution by Dr. Steven Sinatra, and he's got a lot of really good information for folks dealing with congestive heart failure. All right, tomorrow we're going to talk to Robert Scheinfeld about his book, Busting Loose, and the ultimate key to happiness. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks so much for listening, folks. We'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Bye for now.